Hi, Karel's the King, StanStrength.com, and today I'm going to talk to you about power building programming for novices. So, when it comes to programming for novices, it's not overly complicated because I think the goal of a novice should be, for the most part, practice consistency. Get really, really good at going to the gym and get really, really good at the basic lifts. So, the main things I want you to focus on if you are a novice and you want to get into programming for yourself, or you're trying to make a program for a novice that you know and you're trying to help them out, the most important thing that I want them to get consistent at is working out 3 days a week with one rest day in between. The reason why I think it's necessary or advantageous for a novice to train only 3 days a week is because if they are a complete noob, right, they are going to be making a lifestyle change. This is something that they need to get used to over a long period of time. Going to the gym 3 days a week, every single week for 48 to 52 weeks, and then they can call themselves a consistent gym goer. Because after that first year of going to the gym, that's when I think you can say, I've been consistent with the gym, because it's very impossible to be going to the gym. It is almost impossible to be going to the gym for that amount of time as a novice, a complete noob, going for a whole year 3 times a week and not seeing any type of changes to your physique or to your levels of strength. Another reason why I think it's advantageous for novices to only go to the gym 3 times a week is because if you're setting the bar a little bit under what they might think they need or what they think they can do, because oftentimes I'll be talking with new clients or novices who are saying, I want to start working out and I want to start working out 4, 5, 6 days a week, and they end up only working out maybe 1, 2, or 3 times a week. So if that's the case, set the bar a little bit lower so that way they get comfortable with hitting that bar every single time, which is just another way to say, and goes back to that first point of being consistent. They have to be consistent. You have to be consistent if you're a novice. That is what you should be focusing on in your first year. The next thing I want you to focus on is big compound movements. So the compound movements that I'm talking about are, of course, since this is a power building channel, the squat, bench, and deadlift. But more so than that are the other lifts such as the overhead press, pull-ups and chin-ups, inverted rows and push-ups, dips, barbell rows, dumbbell rows, and maybe even lunges. The reason why I recommend these lifts, and the reason why you will see these lifts in almost any strength training, or you should see them in even like bodybuilding programs, is because these movements allow us to use the most amount of muscle and the most amount of weight. As a natural lifter, you have to increase the amount of weight you can lift over time, and the best way to do that is to use lifts that allow you to maximize the amount of weight you can lift. So when you are trying to get into working out, you really shouldn't be doing too much isolation. You should be really focusing on the compound movements and going from there. So the next thing is, don't train to failure. I don't think for a novice lifter, training to failure is anything conducive or even like needed. Like, does it work? Sure. Like, yes, it will, like it, you will get results from doing it, but I think that there are bigger, more important objectives that you need when you're a novice lifter. And that bigger, more important objective is practicing those lifts and getting a feeling for the muscles you're trying to improve. So it's kind of impossible to do a movement and not have the muscles associated with it be working. However, you want to try to get your mind into those muscles, establish a mind-muscle connection. So on a bench press, some people are, like, let's say more chest dominant, more tricep dominant when they are pushing. However, it's kind of impossible for it to just work alone or by itself. So don't think that just because you're not feeling it or something like that, that doesn't mean the muscle's not working. But with that being said, you should still be trying to get that mind-muscle connection when you are doing those exercises. And going back to that part of practicing form, right? So in a lot of novice programs, the main thing that they want you to progress on is the weight. Starting strength, 5x5. They oftentimes advocate that you hit a weight for 5 sets of 5, then the next week you add 5 pounds, do another set of 5 sets of 5, and you just keep doing that over and over and over again. I'm not a huge fan of this. I would much rather have you progress in a different manner, but more so only if your form is good. Form should be your priority, not weight on the bar. So now we're getting into the actual programming part. So programming being exercise selection, we kind of already covered that, sets, reps, and intensity and progression from there, right? So for the big three barbell movements, squat, benches, and deadlift, right? So barbell squat, barbell bench press, barbell deadlift. I recommend training those lifts in the one to three sets of 5 to 8 reps. So the reason why it's put as a range is because the one thing you'll learn as you continue working out is that these exercises don't really have like a cookie cutter thing. So like oftentimes you'll see in a program 3 sets of 5 on squat, 3 sets of 5 on deadlift, 3 sets of 5 on bench. The problem is, what I've noticed for myself is that different lifts respond differently to volume, intensity, frequency, and frequency being how many times you do the movement, volume being sets and reps, and intensity being like relationship to your 1 rep max, so which is not very important as a novice. But the reason why, going back to why it's in a range, is because for deadlifts, I think as a beginner, your focus should be doing 1 set of 5 reps. And when I say 1 set, I don't just mean going to the gym, picking up an empty barbell, maybe putting some 10s or 25s on, and then doing 1 set of 5. That's not what I mean. What I mean is you want to build up to a set where on that 4th and or 5th rep, form breakdown occurs, but not to the point where it's like horrendous, but just, or your confidence that you're going to be able to hit 5 if you take another weight jump plummets. So for example, if you do 135 for 5 on that 5th rep, it's a little shaky, the form wasn't completely perfect, and you feel like if you add a little bit more weight, your form for sure is going to break down and you might not get another set of 5. At that point, you just stop at 135, save it for another time. You go back to it, and then if you feel that you're still kind of shaking on it, you just stick around at that weight a bit longer. There's no shame in that. Don't think that just because a lot of programs say like just keep adding weight, I don't think that's what you should be doing. You should be really trying to get good at lifting, at practicing the movement, getting really good at that movement pattern. So I think that's a bit more conducive, and that's for the deadlift. For squats and bench press, I think they tend to react the same way to volume, intensity, and frequency. So on those ones, you can do like 2 sets of 5 to 8, 2 sets of, or 3 sets of 5 to 8. I think you'll get really good progress just on that. And the same thing applies. You cut the sets, or you pick a weight. On those ones, for the progression for this one is you pick a weight that you can manage within that rep range, and you only increase the weight when you can do 3 sets of 8. So let's say you're squatting, right? On the first week, you get 7 reps, 6 reps, and 5 reps. And then the next week after that, you get 8 reps, 6 reps. You are staying at the same weight on both weeks, but on week 3, if you hit 3 sets of 8 for, let's say, 135 again, then you'll go up in weight 10 pounds the next time. So because you're sticking at a weight for a bit longer and you're trying to really get good at the movement, I think it's okay that you take bigger jumps. And this type of progression is very similar to something like a 5x5 where you're doing like straight sets, and like the sets and reps don't really change all that much. But the reason why I think it's better for a novice, and it really wouldn't work too well for a intermediate lifter, but I think it works well for a novice because you stick at a weight longer, you're able to practice, get high quality practice for a longer amount of time, and that is why I think it's actually optimal for a novice to progress in that way. Now for accessories and variations of the big 3, right? So accessories being things like overhead presses, barbell rows, and like the other exercises that I mentioned. I recommend doing that in the 2 sets of 8 to 12 reps, or even 6 to 10 reps, somewhere within that range. So this meaning you don't want to be going as heavy as you would in the big 3, because typically you won't be able to, like, you'll be able to deadlift more than you can row, you'll be able to bench more than you can overhead press generally. So because of that, you're kind of compensating and trying to get more volume on those movements instead, and trying to hit muscles that aren't completely hit in the big three movements. So for example, during the bench press, it's a lot of chest and triceps. You are getting a lot of front delt activation too, but the main movers are triceps and chest. So that's why you want to hit, and you want to hit a pressing movement in a different plane. So you have a horizontal press, the bench press, and a vertical press, the overhead press. And then, like, let's say for the row on deadlifts, because I'm advocating for just one set of 5 of clean, high quality reps, you still want to get a lot of upper back and lat development. So doing sets of 8 to 12 will really help build up those muscles. 8 to 12 or 6 to 10 will really help build up those muscles in the beginner phase. Now, a caveat or something else to keep in mind is that when I was mentioning exercise selection earlier, I also mentioned bodyweight movements. So bodyweight movements, if you're a complete novice, I know there are some who at the end of the day will only be able to hit the 6 to 10, 8 to 12 rep range for those movements. But for other movements, especially harder ones like pull-ups and dips, what I would recommend, or and this can go for inverted rows and push-ups too, is that you just do 2 sets to muscle failure, or technical failure, when form breaks down, not muscle failure, technical failure. So when your form breaks down, I want you to stop that set, rest for about 1 to 2 minutes, and then do another set of that exercise. I really believe that when you're a novice, calisthenics needs to be incorporated into your workout program. So even as a power builder, even as a bodybuilder, whatever it is, you need to be doing bodyweight movements. You need to be able to move your body in space. Like, I'm a pretty heavy guy, I'm a pretty big guy, but I can still do pull-ups for reps. I can still do dips for reps. I can still do a lot of push-ups. So I really think that when you're building a base, you need to include calisthenics. It can't just be the big 3. So if you really want to round out your physique, round out your strength, round out your performance, and like keep yourself like more likely to stay healthy for the long run, include calisthenics. And then after that, you can, over time, meaning after about 3 to 6 months, then you can start adding isolation. So that's when you can start adding in things like lateral raises, bicep curls, tricep extensions. I don't think these things are very important for the first 3 to 6 months. I'm leaning closer to 6, but do you. But during the first 3 months, 3 or 6 months, you're hitting every single muscle if you just do those movements I mentioned earlier: squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, pull-ups, inverted rows, push-ups, dips, lunges. You are hitting every single muscle in the body. And as a novice, that because you are coming from basically not working out at all to hitting every single muscle using big movements, you're going to see growth. There's really no purpose in adding in bicep curls at that point in time, because it's just going to be, it's not that it's not going to work, it's just you're spending more time majoring in the minors. And it's my goal for novices is just to get in, get out, because we just want them to build that habit of being consistent. And if they spend too much time there, they feel uncomfortable there, and they start developing hard feelings toward the gym, or it starts becoming too much of a time commitment, and they start having it starts draining on their motivation to go to the gym. I just don't want to take that chance, and want to remove that from the equation, so that way they just keep going to the gym. And if they're going to be there, just focus on the compound lifts, and over time, as your consistency improves, then start adding isolation. Now for progression. So I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about the compound movements, but like I said, only progress in weight when your form can stay consistent and when you can hit the upper threshold of a rep range. So for example, in the 8 to 12, if you can do 2 sets of 12, the next time you go into the gym, add 5 to 10 pounds. Don't do it before then. So as you get more experience into your fitness journey, into your lifting journey, this isn't the best way to progress, in my opinion. However, I think it's very, very, very good for beginners, because they're still getting high quality practice, and you're getting more volume over time, you're getting more tonnage, and that will really set you up for success in the future. Now, for this last point, if you're a novice, I want you to ask a trainer, ask a friend, or use your phone and record your lifts, and really think about if like what you can improve on. So hopefully the trainer is a good trainer and actually knows how to do the compound lifts. Hopefully your friend, same thing. But one thing that's like really useful, and this is what I really did like when I was getting into lifting, is I just recorded my sets, would take my phone home, like pull up an Alan Thrall video and just watch and compare. So when it comes to YouTube videos or YouTube channels that have really good workout tutorials, I really recommend Alan Thrall. Jeff Nippert is a good one. I think Calgary Barbell has a really good squat tutorial as well. And Brian Alsrew, like I learned a lot of my lifting technique from Brian Alsrew. So record your sets and then compare, or like I said, ask a trainer, ask a friend. So I will be making a novice program where I kind of put everything that I mentioned into this video into an actual program that people can use. Still working on it at the moment, so I'm trying to iron it out, make sure it's up to my standards. And I hope you found this video useful. I know there's a lot of information in here, but this is what I recommend is a good way to start your fitness journey in the right direction. Try to make sure that first step is going in the right direction. So if you're trying to become a power builder, I think this is a really good place to start. If you have advice, or if you disagree, agree, let me know. I want to learn as well, see what works for other people, and all of that. So like the video, share, subscribe to the channel. The program will be posted on my website and in the description when I make that video. And I hope you guys have a good day. Peace.